I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead-zinc-silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic engineer gold mine in the Atlan District of Northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Tim Cyclesman Wood, editor of Cycles News and Views on Cyclesman.com. Welcome back to the show, Tim.
And Jim, thanks as always for having me.
It looks like we have set up kind of a new cycle where we have a week of decline in the major markets, then a couple of days of bounce back, and then decline again. Is that what you're seeing?
Yes, of course. That's exactly what's going on. And in the process, as I listen to people talk and comments and a few things I've seen, there's no fear, no worry. Everybody thinks everything is okay. And that goes back to, they've been trained like Pavlov's dog. Nobody sees this for what it is. I have explained, in, recent interviews at least that there's the higher degree setup that has been trying to take form, that has been taking form with the peaking of commodities, the peaking of equities, and that the U.S. indexes and averages, mainly the Dow Jones Industrial Average and mainstream, S&P and so forth, have been providing cover for that longer term, higher picture, higher level, however you want to say it, setup that is quietly taking place, and that's exactly what is going on. This has evolved to the point where in some of the foreign markets and even some of the domestic markets, in indexes and sectors and such, we can say that it's evolved to the point where we should have, short of a market miracle, we should have, or another market miracle, I should say, we should have the 4-year cycle top in place in some of this stuff. But that said, the industrials stand on their own feet. They have been providing cover, and I think the process is underway, and the sheep are asleep.
Is it true that a lot of executives have already sold off major amounts of stock?
That is not something that I follow personally. I have heard that, but I don't know personally. That is not something I follow.
Is there any way for somebody to track that?
I think that information is available. My understanding is that is available, but it's not something. I think that it has to be reported, actually. As an insider activity, but it's not something that I follow.
President Trump said the U.S. Fed is his biggest threat. Do you know what he meant by that?
Well, no, I have a suspicion that he is positioning that the comment like that, the only way I read it from my seat, is that he knows the dangers of the market, and you've got to have someone to blame it on. Before he was elected, he talked about this being a bubble, and we've certainly beat that horse to death. And then since the election, it's become even more extreme, more of a bubble. And I might add, I'll beat this part to death too. Back in January, we saw the most overbought readings by some technical measures since 1800 on U.S. indexes and stock averages and so forth. The most overvalued levels as far as some of the valuations from some of the John Hussman stuff that I see from time to time. But yet all of a sudden it's no longer a bubble, and now he has to have someone. Obviously it can't be his fault. I'm not picking politics here, but it is what it is. It's not going to be his fault. So yeah, he's got to blame somebody. I think he sees the handwriting on the wall. It's the way I read it.
Some people have said if the NASDAQ falls more than 10% from its record high, it could be in for a major plunge. Do you look at it that way?
I don't look at it that way. I look at the structure of the market itself. And I know that's hard to explain, but cycles have, there's statistical norms, right, left translations, and that sort of thing, and different levels of which cycles of various degrees bottom. Where did the last cycle bottom of whatever degree, and so forth. And so I look at that structure, and long and short of it, is the structure still bullish or is the structure still bearish? And like I said, in many indexes, averages, and some sectors, you can say, it's bearish, and it's clearly been bearish. And we talked about that with the left translations that were set up following the February high, for example, in housing and auto, and a number of some of the Dow Jones World Index and some of that type of stuff. It's been bearish, and those are the things that's leading. In some of the other indexes, averages, the process is still underway. So I know it's kind of a long answer, but I don't look at a particular percent decline or anything like that. I think that's somewhat meaningless. I think it's the structure that matters.
And what are you seeing in the structure that has you really nervous right now?
Well, the structure, the thing is like I said, I've been talking about it for months, since February, how a lot of these leading, everything moves by and large to a very similar cyclical rhythm. Obviously there's always something that peaks first and something that bottoms first, and there's leaders and laggers, but overall things move to a fairly similar cyclical rhythm, be it coming out of a low or into a high. And I have been saying, since that left translated structure fell into place following the February decline, that there had been leaders which have been suggestive of this higher degree top. And so ever since then, that's what's made me nervous, I guess is the right word, that this topping process is underway. It's given me guidance, if you will, that this topping process is absolutely underway. But again, the U.S. indexes, averages, mainly the industrials, have been lagging. Well, now they're trying to play catch up. The structure isn't quite there yet, but it is falling into place. It is, materializing. It's seemingly, how do I say this? The dominoes are falling in that direction, if you will. And so, I think that we are at a very important technical juncture. The markets are somewhat vulnerable here. And I think the dangerous thing is that, like I said, no one really gets it or, understands the environment that we operate in.
We'll have more with Tim Cyclesman Wood right after this.
Recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, Recycling Trade Publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Aben Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Aben's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at abenresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Tim Cyclesman Wood. Tim, what do you see happening in crude oil?
Crude oil, crude oil, and I can't talk about crude oil without talking about commodities in general. But, the CRB index, I've talked about us having the 3-year cycle top in place, which, every indication is that is in fact, the case. If you look at, the Thomson Reuters commodity index, same thing. If you look at raw materials data, same thing. Every indication is 3-year cycle tops in place. And, crude oil, we had this last push up. As of a little while ago, I looked and I think crude oil was down like over 2%. If I remember right today, it was right at 1.5%, something like that. But, we had this latest push in crude oil, and I think that was probably a last gasp into that 3-year top. You're not going to have a 3-year top in a commodity complex without a top in crude oil. So I think that was an ending move into that what should be the final top, and I maintain that most asset classes are all setting up to peak together, with commodities actually leading, and everything's setting up according to plan. Now, it's been a very slow process, but it is setting up according to what I've been seeing for over a year now.
Tim, do you see any particular price for it going down, which will be the tipping point for a larger plunge?
Yeah, I mean, and again, it depends on what you're looking at. Each market stands on its own feet, and that's a hard question to answer directly. But it's all about the structure of the particular index or sector or whatever it is that you may be looking at. And for example, we violate the last annual degree cycle they'll look at in equities, and if we violate that last low, then I think that's going to instill some panic, and it could get very interesting. But it's about the structure and which market you're looking at.
Tim, when you said right now there's no worry, no fear in the markets, is there the same kind of feeling in the oil divisions, especially since oil stocks do tend to pay dividends?
Well, here's the thing with oil, that people are not, everything has been, the illusion has been that everything is okay, because every time the market has tried to set up, it's never quite materialized, and can has got kicked down the road again, as they say. I kind of hate that saying, but it's an accurate saying. And so nothing has really happened, and so we've had this extended period where the cycles have just been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and we all know why. But here's the thing. If you look at crude oil, this last advance in crude oil, it wasn't confirmed by gasoline. It wasn't confirmed by the CRB. It wasn't confirmed by the raw materials data. It wasn't confirmed by the oil service sector. It was, so you have these, it's the same principle as with Dow theory. I mean, you have these non-confirmations. And so I think those in and of themselves are warnings about crude oil, yet everything has been, like I said, held together. And so that has created the illusion that everything is fine, when in fact, I maintain, like I said, that it is a house of cards. And at some point you get to the tipping point, and I think we'll see the house of cards implode.
We'll have more with Tim Wood right after this.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp. is a Canadian-based mineral exploration project generator. The company currently holds multiple property interests in Ontario with joint venture partners and is seeking further joint venture partners for other drill-ready properties in our portfolio. For more information, please visit our website at rmroyalty.com or call me at 604-922-2030.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Tim Cyclesman Wood. Tim, what's your outlook on the U.S. dollar?
At this point, I'm still bullish on the dollar. It's, everything is like I said, a process, and, you watch developments daily, and things can change. But as of this moment, we had that 4-year cycle low, longer term cycle low back in February. The dollar has given me some some concerns, but it's turning back up here. And, there's been absolutely nothing at this point so far to, like I said, I had some concerns with this last downturn with the short-term cycle, but it looked, we're turning up out of those lows now, and at this juncture, everything still looks good for the dollar. So, we're on course there.
Any worries that so many countries are trying to find other ways than using U.S. dollars for their international trade? Is that a problem for the U.S. dollar?
it's a problem for the ones that try to do that. My understanding is, Gaddafi tried that, Saddam Hussein tried that, and it doesn't end well for them. So, I don't know that it's such a problem for the dollar. It's a major problem for those countries who try that.
Gold, do you see it going up in the short term, long term, especially if the markets take a nosedive?
Well, gold, I try to let each market stand on its own 2 feet. Gold did perk up last week with the market decline, but looking at the long-term, structure with the 9-year cycle, again, every indication is and continues to be that because of the structure, I talked about the structure, it suggests that the 9-year cycle top is in. So, this should be a counter trend advance. We knew that the August low was an intermediate degree low. And, if you look at the performance of silver, if you look at, some of the other metals, they've even copper has been weak. Again, everything made those same intermediate term cycle lows. I know no one likes to equate their gold to copper or tin or, some other industrial metal, but it all pretty much moves together. The relative performance there has been weak. So I think at this point, that it's a counter trend bounce still, and there has been nothing longer term to change that view. So yeah, I mean, longer term, I'm still bearish on gold in that I think we have the 9-year top and that we go lower.
Tim, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you.
My guest has been Tim Cyclesman Wood, editor of Cycles News and Views on cyclesman.com. If you have any questions for Tim or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.